I want to talk about Game of the Year. Obviously, there's lots of debates going around about whose Game of the Year pick was right. Lots of outlets are putting out their Game of the Year picks right now. And there's there's probably a good 10 titles that could be really contested for Game of the Year. So I'm just going to start throwing out some big ones. Obviously, Skyrim has been named Game of the Year, both by Inside Gaming Awards and the Video Game Awards. It was Game of the Year. Portal 2 was also up for Game of the Year. Skyward Sword, Uncharted 3, and then we have other games like Modern Warfare 3, Battlefield 3, Batman Arkham City, Gears of War 3, and some other big titles out there. What do you guys think? What's your favorite Game of the Year?
My top 3 this year were Skyrim, Portal 2, and Uncharted 3. Those were my big 3. And then gosh, I mean, they were all just, they really, I feel like even something like with Uncharted, the way it looked, it really did stand out from any other title that was put out this year. Like, just on the way it looked. Portal, how intuitive it was, and how, even with the multiplayer, like the teamwork that was involved in just going through the game, made that stand out from any other multiplayer experience this year. And then Skyrim, the vast, gigantic game that is Skyrim, this world of Skyrim, that made it stand out from any other title this year. And so those were my 3 picks. Out of those 3, I think my overall pick was Skyrim because of the replayability factor with that game. No 2 people can play that game alike, and it's just Very true. Tell me a story and I'm like, oh my god, I'm so jealous that you're able to do that, I want to go do that now. And then someone tells me another story and I'm like, oh, I did it, but this is what happened when I did it. So many things, like it's endless, and I feel like it's almost kind of like doing chores in the game, but in a good way, because you're like, oh, I got to go finish this quest, and oh, I got to make sure I turn this in, and oh, I got to make sure I find that piece of armor.
That's so true, doing chores.
Yeah.
And you have a list that you can like cross off as you go.
Yeah. Oh, I got to decorate my new home that I just bought. No, I got to go see what my wife just sold, or something like that. And so
I still haven't gotten married yet.
I haven't either. I have my amulet of Mara, but I'm waiting for the right person.
Saving yourself.
Saving myself. My wood elf. My level 25 wood elf.
Nice.
I think I'm the youngest out of all of us here.
Well, I've been putting in an obscene amount of hours in that game.
Yeah.
But tell me, you guys, what are your favorite games of the year?
Well, I do think Skyrim has a lot of merit. I actually am not a big Skyrim fan, but I appreciate, like what it's doing. I've played Oblivion and Elder Scrolls games in the past. It's really a time thing for me. I don't really have the time to devote to that.
Yeah.
Something I really liked that kind of was hyped but didn't really fall on a lot of top 10 lists was Crysis 2, specifically on the Xbox.
Great game.
Yeah, absolutely.
I thought just like very fluid, very awesome. Like I love shooters and I love Call of Duty and stuff like that, but there's something about Call of Duty where I always feel like I'm running behind somebody and catching up, whereas in Crysis I was like the point guy. I can decide if I want to be stealthy,
one-man army, yeah.
Yeah, and like the oh snap moments, were just so insane where it was like you were overrun by a bunch of dudes and you were like, elbowing and shooting and jumping and diving and so many ways to attack and like run or attack. It was like to me, Crysis not on top 10 lists. I have to wonder what happened there.
I totally agree. Crysis, like especially the combat design in that game, like where you would come into scenarios and you could kind of like choose how to approach it. Like they did that stuff really, really well.
Yeah,
and
you
plus
could
it
decide.
looked beautiful. Even
It's
on the console,
gorgeous.
it looked so
Did
good.
you see it in 3D?
No, I never played it in 3D.
Jess and I got the opportunity to see it in 3D when we were at GDC earlier this year, and it was beautiful.
Yeah.
So, but Billy, what's your picks?
Oh man. Okay, so Crysis 2 was a great game. Dead Space 2 was one of my favorites this year. I'm a huge Dead Space fan. Like,
Great game.
Total geek. Like read the novels and everything. So
I watched the cartoons. I
yeah,
read the novels.
those aren't as good.
I read the
but
comics too.
The novel's actually really good. The Dead Space book is really good. What else? Portal 2, obviously. MK was one of those games that came out, and like
Yes.
I haven't really cared about fighting games in a long time. Like probably since Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 came out, and so. To kind of go back and like enjoy fighting games and kind of get back into it and be like, all right, I'm gonna get really good at this game and like play it for a while, and like that was really neat.
I'm glad that you brought up Mortal Kombat because I feel like because it was a fighting game that people didn't put it in contention for one of the best games of the year because it was kind of like a very genre-specific game. But I think that NetherRealm did a fantastic job with it. It just looked amazing. It played amazing. It was everything you loved about Mortal Kombat, but better.
The thing I loved about it specifically was that it was very accessible. Like people that weren't super into fighting games could get into it and understand it, but it also had the depth there to like be at Evo and like be there for people that are pro fighting game players to like get into it on that level too. So I think that's kind of what it did really well, better than like even like in my opinion the Street Fighter games that have come out recently. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I feel like the Street Fighter franchise is like next year is going to be a really big year for them.
That's true.
But some of my favorites of the year, obviously Skyrim. I've told a lot of people that I've been obsessed with that game.
Yes.
But another game that really kind of shocked me how much I loved it was Gears of War 3. And I've never really been somebody who was really big into the Gears franchise, just because there was just something about the lore that didn't like quite grab me, and then maybe that was just because I hadn't been exposed to it enough. But I played through Gears of War, the campaign, in one sitting. I liked it that much. I literally did not walk away from my TV until I finished the campaign, which was an amazing experience for me. And then getting into multiplayer with the new Beast mode, which was really fun getting to play as the Locust. And then I had my first experience with Horde where I did 0 to 50. From all the way up to the 50th wave in one sitting with a group of friends in co-op, and that was so much fun.
You and I had a pretty good Horde mode session
Yes,
too.
we did. We made it to like wave like 25
Yeah,
or something like
that.
that.
We didn't make it all the way to 50, which
Yeah.
I still have yet to do.
We should do it sometime.
We
We
should totally do it.
could all
Yeah.
sit down and go 0
It's
to
pretty
50.
intense.
Got to
It's
get that
pretty
achievement
intense.
too. So I
Gears
need
3
it.
was the Gears games have always been like really solid mechanically, and I feel like 3 was just kind of like the best of it.
Yeah.
Like they were like as solid as you can get with a shooter. So yeah. I really
Yeah.
like that game, too.
But even though I loved Gears, my definite number one standout for the year, game of the year for me, was Portal 2. I mean,
Nice.
just like the thing that really kind of grabbed me about Portal 2 versus some of these other games, besides the innovative multiplayer, which we talked about, the co-op and things like that, how fun that was. It was probably one of the only games that I can remember in recent history that I literally laughed out loud all the time while playing that game. There were
Everything
just
they
so
said.
many funny, witty little moments
All the
and
Cave
little
Johnson
things in
stuff.
that game.
Yeah.
Cave
That was just
Johnson,
fantastic.
Wheatley, GLaDOS. The voice acting was top notch.
Yes.
It was the best. I feel
Absolutely.
like out of any game I've seen. Well, maybe not so. Well, I would put it up there with Uncharted, like in terms of acting. But
Well, we can't really contest Mark Hamill's performance in Arkham City.
Oh, that's
Pretty
true
good.
too.
That was pretty good.
it
Pretty
was
good.
amazing.
well, I guess overall cast.
Yeah.
Well, let's
Yeah.
say that overall cast.
Let me tell you, GLaDOS, she's got a sharp wit, and I love it. I literally found myself tweeting like quotes from GLaDOS all the time when I was playing that
Should
game.
be a Twitter account anyway. Like quotes from GLaDOS. Yeah.
That's actually a really good idea.
Yeah.
Somebody make that.
I'm sure it's already
Internet.
out there. It might already be out there because I know Aperture Science is already out there.
Oh, really?
Aperture
Oh, is
Science
it?
PR, yeah.
Yeah, I
followed
follow
them.
Aperture Science. Yeah.
I'm going to register Wheatley Science or something.